Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Bronson's Soapbox. I am here to talk to you today about how the 360 has just turned 10 years old. I'll be talking about my personal experiences with the system, the console, and how really an underrated system it was when it came to its overall influence on the industry. And I think it's mainly just because we don't have enough hindsight yet and enough time between the system and the present. So, I'm going to talk about my personal experience. The system was previewed at an MTV event in 2005, and I remember seeing that event, and I remember seeing the E3 stuff that they showed about it, and it was mind-blowing. Like, the jump to HD. We had an HD set in the house. We're one of the first families on the house in the city to have one. And, like, you're telling me games can look that good? And then they told me the future list of the console itself. And at the time, I was a big Xbox Live gamer on the original Xbox. I played a lot of Halo 2, a lot of Burnout 3, DOA Ultimate, things of that nature. And there were a couple of things I always wanted that just didn't happen on the original Xbox for what are now obvious reasons that I wanted them to do that they did on the 360. First off, was I love talking to my friends. I love playing games with my friends, but they were always, like, there were sometimes when we'd be playing different games. Like, I'd be really into Madden, but they wouldn't want to play Madden. So I would either have to go play Halo 2 or Burnout or whatever it was with them or not talk to them. The 360 was the first console to have cross-game chat. So I could be playing Madden, they could be playing Perfect Dark, we could still be chatting. It was awesome. Next up was music in every game. One of the big things about the original Xbox, if you downloaded your CDs to it, it had custom soundtracks, but it was only for select games. Like PGR had it. What else had it? Madden had it. Forza had it. Pretty much sports and racing games, but not all games, which sucked because I would have loved to hear it during Halo 2. And then finally, the big one was just having a profile system. Jump from game to game was easy, and it was backwards compatible, and it just really seemed like this system that was ahead of its time as far as features goes. The hardware itself wasn't. It didn't have built-in Wi-Fi, which at the time was fine, but now seems absurd. It used standard DVDs, not the upcoming formats like Blu-ray or HD DVD. But it didn't matter, because it just seemed wildly ahead of its time, like the system itself, from a software standpoint. And then you looked at the games. The launch lineup was okay. It had, Perfect Dark, everyone gives that game a lot of crap. I thought it was alright. Cameo, in my opinion, was one of the most underrated games ever made. Call of Duty 2 was solid. Condemned is one of the best horror games ever made. And then within months, you had DOA, and then what most people consider to be the first real next-generation experience of the time, Oblivion. And the 360 just kind of went on a roll. Even when its competition was out a year later, no one cared. It didn't, because by then the 360 was getting games like Viva Pinata and Gears of War and Halo and Project Gotham and Forza and just all these other big name titles, and then they were they themselves were just sitting there with nothing. That said, there were some problems in those early days with the 360. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. The first year or so, they had a real allotment trouble. I remember getting my 360 was relatively because I had the midnight launch, but most people I know getting a 360 within the first year were having just massive problems with it. It wasn't until the following holiday when Gears was out that you could just go walk in and buy the premium model. Doing multiple SKUs was dumb. They had the core unit, which was just the system and a wired controller with memory cards that were 2/3 the price of a hard drive, so why wouldn't you just buy the hard drive? And then the real system, which was the premium system that could do backwards compatibility and most of the online stuff and download games. I feel the core unit was the only reason that thing came out was for them to be oh no, it's still mass market pricing, it's still for everyone. And the 360 was also the first system to do that whole downloadable indie and old school game thing with the whole with the Xbox Live Arcade. You look at the amazing games that came out of that. Without Xbox Live Arcade, we wouldn't have had Braid or Splosion Man or Super Meat Boy. Or we would have had them, but they wouldn't have been as commercially viable. Largely because of the 360 making downloads a big priority and making downloadable games huge. it started this whole indie revolution where we're seeing now where games like Rocket League and Bastion and Transistor are like some of the best games of the year, and tons of people talk about them. Not just this niche PC market that it used to be. But yeah, as far as bad things though, the Red Ring of Death was a huge thing. I personally, I had 9 different Xboxes. Now, granted, I only 2 of them weren't broken. I just like my last one is fine, and the one before that I sold because I got a Slim. But the rest of them, I had red rings, I had disc tray problems, I had like the original 360 up until the Slim was just garbage. Like, yeah, the late game ones around 09 were kind of fine. Like you had a good chance of them lasting, but like if you had any newer ones, they were just constantly broken all the time. Next up was kind of like their messaging and their exclusives. Like it seemed from when it launched until like 2009, like till Connect basically. It was like Xbox, yeah, it's for everyone. But gamers, we got you. Check out Halo 3. Check out Project Gotham. Orange Box runs better on here than it does on PS3. We got this indie game lineup. And slowly things kind of changed. But at that point, it didn't matter because they had the lead, they had the sales, they owned North America. It didn't matter to anyone. Yeah, that said, I think that I think that what Microsoft did is kind of extraordinary because they realized if we're going to beat Sony, we have to have, because at the time when the 360 launched, PS2 was king. You could have combined the GameCube and original Xbox sales, then multiplied that by 3 and still not have made PS2 sales. So they realized, okay, we need to be out early. We need to be out first like the PS2 was. And then they also realized we need to have all this forward-thinking software. We need to be able to have it so you can buy games online and download them, and TV, and all this stuff. Like, the 360 was the first, like, modernized idea of what a current console is. You know, when you think of, like, all these online features and wireless controllers and cross-game chat and just jumping from game to game wherever my friends are and things of that nature, like, the 360 was the first one to do all that. It was the first high-def system. I remember, now it seems quaint and antiquated, but like I remember at that press conference, just crystal clear 720p resolution. Now someone says that, it sounds hilarious, of course, but at the time it was a real novelty. But yeah, I think that looking back on it, the history will obviously favor the 360. It has a great library of games that are exclusive and non-exclusive. It's still going strong now. It still sells. Obviously it's waning down because they're putting all their marketing behind the Xbox One. But like even now, the 360, its library and its influence was so strong that Microsoft had to find a way to get backwards compatibility into the Xbox One. But yeah, like, you look at the lifespan of the 360, and it was a little rough, but I think it will be remembered for its contributions to the industry as a whole, and easily is one of the best systems of all time. Now, I'll be back in about a week to talk about a less happy subject, blacklisting. So, blacklisting media outlets in particular. But happy birthday, 360. You're awesome. Happy 10th. Hope you get 10 more. I don't think Microsoft's going to support you that long, but who knows. And please follow us on Twitter, @TheGamerAccess, Facebook.com, TheGamerAccess, and Twitch.tv/TheGamerAccess, where the Super Senpai Bros and the Shiitakes both have set streaming schedules to stream all the time. Have a great week.